Hey, hi. It's Day Oyabumi from daydreamaustin.com, Odisha Priestess, Intuitive Messenger, Visionary, so many other things, darling. How y'all doing today? I hope you're well as you're watching this. So, I was compelled to share a story today, and I wasn't really considering sharing this information until I got an intuitive nudge to do so. So today, I'm just living my life, and something was like, hey, not something, my spirit team was like, hey, we want you to tell this story, share it. And I'm actually shocked because I was like adamantly like, you know what? No, everybody don't need to know this, whatever. So, as many of you know who have been with me on my journey, on YouTube particularly, I was a Christian and started getting these hits, right? These intuitive um, nudges to leave that behind and go in search of something that just felt right to me. And I went through that process, and what that process led me to was Ifa Orisa tradition. I, dove headfirst into the tradition. I was so excited, maybe too excited. I romanticized the tradition, sensationalized it, was just like super into it, and was like, I'm going to go for it, right? And ended up getting initiated. I am initiated into the mysteries of Orisha Oya, right? The powerful warrior queen, the favored wife of Kabiesi Shango. After becoming initiated, I found my practice got a lot stricter, and I began to really follow the rituals of going and serving the Orisha and things like that. And, I started talking about it on YouTube, teaching. I have online trainings, courses, ebooks, and things like that. Now, what was interesting was I hit this wall at a point, and it was honestly, and I'm still dealing with remnants of it now, but it was really like a very difficult time. So I'm doing everything I was told to do in this tradition, right? I'm going to my Orisha, I've gotten my initiation, I am doing my readings and Ebo, offerings, Ebo, all of this stuff. And the way Ifa Orisha is presented to people is that it's transactional, right? And let me tell you what I mean by transactional. What's a transaction? You give something and you get something. A transaction at the store is you go, you pick some stuff up, you give the money, and you can leave with the stuff, right? The transactions with Ifa Orisha tradition are you go, you give your time, you sacrifice your money, you sacrifice time, you sacrifice money, you follow your taboos, right? Which are things you can't do. And in exchange for that sacrifice, you receive some type of benefit, some type of gift, some type of help. And what I was noticing before I hit that brick wall was that this was not as transactional a tradition as I was led to believe, because I was doing those things, right? And I wasn't getting the help that I needed. And I started first I got mad. I got mad because, come on now, I'm fiery, I could get into all of that. Anybody who knows my story knows I could get a little wild in my attitude. So I was upset. I was upset because I felt like this promise of being able to actually, say a prayer, do the work, and then receive the gifts was broken. And that's one of the reasons I came to the tradition. Besides my interest in healing, I was like, oh, wait a minute. In this tradition, I'll pray and I'll do stuff and I'll actually see the results. I was so excited because I had come from a religion where I was praying all the time, and that didn't always manifest things, you know? So when that promise was broken in my mind, I was like, what the is going on? I was pissed and I wasn't with it. So one of the things about me is I didn't feel like I should go harder in the tradition. I just kind of felt like that was counterproductive to keep pushing and keep doing the same thing, especially when I wasn't getting the results. And what I've noticed is that typically, instead of just kind of stepping back and going within, people would go get another initiation or would be told to go get more pots, do another initiation. And I started to feel like I was chasing, you know how they have that old adage of the horse that has the stick with the carrot, right? And they're always chasing it and they never catch it. That's how I started to feel. So instead of going forward, pushing, right, going and trying to do another initiation, another ebo, another this, I was just like, nah, I don't think so. I got to stop because something is not right, and I didn't understand what it was. And around that same time, I started getting these nudges again because I've always been intuitive. My spirit team, but particularly my ancestors, started like nudging me away from my spiritual practice, from the way I was doing things with Orisha, the way I viewed Orisha. And that was really, I didn't like that because I had committed so much to this practice, right? Not only had I went through the sacrifice of time and money and going to initiate, right, and all of that, this became part of my work, sharing this information with y'all. So I fought it for a while. And because I'm very intuitive, I'm hearing clearly, receiving clearly messages that they're like, nah, that's it. You hit this brick wall because this is it for you in this tradition, in the way you're practicing it. And I was just like, nah, I couldn't accept that, y'all. So this shit was funny. First, they reminded me of a dream I had years ago when I first entered the tradition. I had this dream that I was with a whole bunch of people from Isheshe tradition. Everybody's like walking and I'm walking with them, and I could tell because everyone had on the regalia. And they're all going to this place, and this place has more people from the tradition in it. And we get there, and I remember everybody goes into the building where the other people are, right? They're all gathered together. I was walking with them at first, but then I kind of break off and I keep going straight and I go my own way. That's the first thing they reminded me of. So the dream had already shown me, right, years prior, that I was going to go down this path, but only to a point, right? So again, my intuition, my knowing had already put me on. Of course, I'm fighting it. The next thing was my Ide, my Ifa bracelet, started irritating my wrist. This is all at the same time when you're starting to be like, okay, this is about it for you on this path, right? It started irritating my wrist, really, really bothering me. And I remember telling my Baba, like, something's going on. I said, my Ide is really bothering my wrist all of a sudden. But that was, again, my ancestors, right? My spirit team trying to, again, get me to be like, hey, you're too attached to this, or you're seeing it in the wrong way. This is not the way for you. Okay. So then I'm having issues with my Ide. And around that time, I decided to start a practice of deep meditation. Like, I'm going into meditation. Something's not right. What is it? And I had already had the gift of clairaudience, right? That's where you receive messages. Sometimes it feels like mental imprints, auditory imprints. Sometimes you hear words, or it's crazy because you don't even hear it audibly. It's in your mind. It's nuts. Like, people probably think you're crazy when you say that, but I get real ass messages through that medium. As I was meditating, that power grew and grew and grew and grew. My ability to hear right, to receive those messages grew so much. And finally, after months of this practice, they were telling me how I need to approach this tradition. That I needed essentially to toss out all of the things I've been doing and do it this new way. And this new way pointed to more freedom. It wasn't pointing to restriction, following rituals to a T, going and doing these rituals every week, having to do this, having to do that. It was just like, no, that's not your path. Your path is a path of freedom, liberation, they called it, right? And I was just like, okay, what the hell is going on? So one day they told me that they wanted me to see the Orisha as aspects of my consciousness, as opposed to deities, gods that live outside of me, right? That's the way they want me to deal with these energies. So I started thinking about it, and I was like, wow, so even my enlightenment through meditation is a representation of an Orisha, of connecting with the Orisha within me. If anybody knows about my favorite Orisha, Obatala, Obatala can represent the whiteness of Obatala, can represent like pure consciousness. And as I was meditating, I hit this plateau where I tapped into that pure consciousness. Like everything shifted. And I remember walking around for a couple of weeks in this state of euphoria. I didn't know that I had reached enlightenment. I just thought it was like, I didn't know what the hell I thought, but it wasn't until later I was like, wait a minute, that's a state of enlightenment, right? So my actual meditative experience, right, and my enlightenment was connecting with that aspect of my being, that aspect of Obatala within my being. Then they showed me that I could go beyond making offerings to pots by serving those aspects of my being, right? By sacrificing to myself, essentially, offering to myself. And what I mean by that is, let's use Oya, for example. Oya is an energy of shifts, right? Of change. People say she brings the change through storms. So there's something about her energy that shifts things, breaks up the status quo. She is a loyal, devoted wife. She is the owner of the marketplace, right? So some of the ways, and she's a warrior. Like she fights alongside her husband. One of the only female Orisha that's kind of held at that level where it's like she will go out alongside the men, her husband in particular, and fight battles. She is a warrior, right? When the warriors are going out, Oya is next to them. So then they started to show me that a way I could serve, offer to that energy within my being is by standing in my power, right? By standing up, being bold, confident, courageous, fighting when I have to, fighting for myself, fighting for what I believe. When I do that, I'm serving my Oya. Her being the owner of the marketplace, in order to serve that aspect of her within me, is by being resourceful, right? Developing creative products, marketing my abilities, my natural abilities, my unique gifts, not hiding them or feeling like, I can't be who I am. No, get out there, sell this shit. You know what I mean? Like honoring that aspect of myself is a service to my Oya. Making an offering to Ogun, right? The remover of obstacles, is me persevering when things get hard, right? Utilizing my masculine energy, my will to make things happen. Honoring Oshun Oreo is honoring sensuality, is doing things to enjoy my senses, to enjoy life, right? So they started showing me these things, and I was like, wow. And remember, they're pointing me towards liberation. They don't want me sitting at a pot consistently, and if that's what you do and you feel called to it, do it. But I'm telling you what I got. And honestly, the messages I receive are always going to trump what other people say, okay? That's just it, especially at this point, because I'm directly connected to my source, to the source. So I don't need anyone else to say, this is how it's done. Okay, cool. This is what they're telling me to do. So, like I said, it was scary at first. And then it was just like, wait a minute. Like I said, I wanted to know, right? I'm in the spiritual life because I want to tune in and tap into the unseen realms and get real ass information. And that's what I got. So that's where I am today. I am serving Orisha. I am serving these energies by serving aspects of my being through different practices, right? And not ritual practices in the way that we know them, but practices that feed those energies by feeding me. Because ultimately, the goal of spirituality is enlightenment, is evolution, right? And that's what happened to me through this process. It's been really amazing. It was, like I said, I was afraid. I was like, how can I do this? And even like talking about it, people are going to look and say, no, you're supposed to sit and do this and do that. Nah. That's what you're supposed to do if you feel that. But I know based on my spirit team how I'm supposed to approach this, right? So recently I had a deity come up in divination, a Hindu deity. And instead of feeling like, okay, well, how do I connect to this deity, right? What can I do outside of my being to connect? It was just like, oh, okay. So I know what I need to focus on within my own being, what attitude adjustments I need to make, what I need to focus on. That's what it's all about. So here I am sharing this information with you. If it's a support to you, that's wonderful, I just want people to know that there are different ways to reach enlightenment. And Eshu told me that as soon as I got to know Eshu, I remember asking Eshu, what's the one path? And Eshu said, there are many paths. He was just like, what do you mean? There are many paths. And that was at the beginning of my journey, right? But I also want you to really get confident tuning in and tapping into your own intuitive senses and knowings. Sometimes you're going to get information that's contradictory to all the other information you got prior. Will you have the courage to stand on that, to stand on business? I don't know. But I'm an Oya, so I have the courage. And I'm an Aquarius sun. And I'm a Leo North Node. You know what I mean? Like, I have the courage. I've come to kind of do my own thing and to see things in expanded ways. That's why I call myself a visionary. All right. I am back on Patreon. If you want to join, I'll be doing intuitively channeled messages, monthly readings. I love those monthly readings. And a book club starting with Women Who Run with the Wolves. Of course, I have Ifa Orisa online trainings, ebooks and things on my site, and personal readings. I also have spiritual consultations if you just want to have these conversations, okay? daydreamoften.com. Thank you for listening. Let me know what you think down in the comments, okay? Peace.